to Strictly Hockey. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Steve Cashin and Adam Kupferman. These guys are happy, man. The Lightning are back in the Stanley Cup Final. It happened again. I had been saying, I don't know if I'd said it on a podcast, but I had said Lightning in 6 to you guys at least. I was wrong about that. They won in 7. I was pretty confident about it, put money on it, won money, although it was pretty scary there at the end. But I think you honestly have to give credit to me for this win because I'm the one. I mean, we have the chat and Snapchat. I said 1-0 win before Game 7, and it happened. So, like, it's all me.
Do it for the Rangers next year.
Give you credit. The Rangers fans rooting for us, but it was a good series. It was a battle all the way through, and I don't know. You had a feeling that eventually one of these series was going to go 7. Whether it was going to be next series or I'm surprised that the Panther series didn't go 7. That was kind of primed to go that way, but Adam made a point. He texted me that morning of Game 7. He goes, this team hasn't faced elimination in two years. So, it was bound to happen. It really kind of shows you what championship teams are made of. Really, like what Pittsburgh did when they went back-to-back. They had to beat Ottawa in double overtime to get to the cup again. So it kind of has the same makings, and it just shows you what they went through the year before. They learned a lot, and they really could have curled up and not given up going into Game 7. But kind of a heartbreaker to lose, being up 2-0 in the Coliseum. You're 6 minutes away from shutting that place down, and the Islanders, give them credit. They had their last magical moment in that stadium, throwing beers on your own team. And, ultimately going to Game 7 and Lightning getting it done. But nonetheless, great series. And it was fun to watch and not done yet.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, I'm happy that, we can experience it on home ice. Last year in the bubble, yeah, it was fun and all, but it's got so much more life to it this time around going through it, with fans in the stands. And, whether that's on Long Island, fans throwing beers on the ice, that atmosphere was great. It was fun to listen to. When they sing the anthem before the game, that part is really cool. And, for the Lightning, they're throwing the thunder sticks on the ice after the Game 7 win, being able to have the picture in front of the Prince of Wales trophy, in front of all the fans. It's really cool. So I'm happy. Obviously, anytime the Lightning go to the Cup Finals, I'm ecstatic, but I'm really happy that we're all getting to witness it live this time around.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best part for me too. And, like last year, you're watching hockey and it's like, wow, because we had nothing for so long. We were just so happy to have it back. And we were just like, oh, hockey's back. We don't even care if fans are there. But now it's like, okay, it takes it to a different level, makes it feel more legitimate, makes it feel more fun, because there is a legitimate argument. And, I mean, I don't support it, but, hey, the Lightning won a cup, but not with fan influence, right? And you could always hold the question mark over whether you like it or not. Would the Lightning have won some of those games if they had been in other cities? Blah, blah, blah. I don't think it would have happened exactly the same way. I think you can absolutely say that the playoffs wouldn't have happened exactly how they went. So it would have been somewhat different at least. But anyway, so much better that it's in front of fans. And it makes, honestly, winning road games in the playoffs makes it feel so much more legit too, because when you're just trading, jersey colors, there is no significance to that big Game 3 win or, oh, hey, we got to go in and split that Game 3 and 4. In the bubble, it didn't matter. You didn't have to split shit, right? So, you could talk about matchups and stuff like that, which you were referring to last year on the pod, Adam, which, yes, if you're the home team, you get the matchup advantage, and that's all well and good. Nothing matches the equivalency of what fans gives you. That's just takes it to a different level. The Lightning played great in this series. And again, it's not just that the Lightning, I don't go into these series and say, oh, the Lightning are the best team to ever play ever. They're just better. I mean, we were going through these series when the playoffs started, and we were like, the Lightning are going to beat any team in the Metro. And we were right? Was it called the Metro this year? It was the Rangers division, the East?
It was the
East, yeah.
Yeah, it was just the East division this year.
We went through that. We were like, the Lightning will beat any team in the East. And I got some crap for that. And people were like, you can't just say that. And all three of us were sitting here like, yeah, you kind of can, because the Lightning are just better than some of these teams roster-wise. And I think that's why going into the Cup final, you've got to look at it and say, the Lightning's roster is better than Montreal's. They're more skilled than Montreal, but like you guys were saying before, it's really about this magical willpower that Montreal has, where they're just on some little run right now where they're like, hey, we can beat anyone, anything, anywhere. And you can't count them out. I've counted them out. I said they were going to get 4-0 swept by Vegas. And I lost my bet on that one, by the way. And by the way, Vegas, they should be ashamed with themselves. They've got to look themselves in the mirror. We could talk about that later. But bottom line, Tampa wins because left side of the defense, better than everyone else. Best goalie in the NHL. They've got 2 number 1 centers. They've got an MVP on wing. You just can't beat that. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and to backtrack real quick back to this last series, I want to give the Islanders a lot of credit. I mean, they pushed the defending Cup champs to 7, and I think not enough people gave them credit going into the series. Going, hey, they got beat last year. You haven't beat this team in a series, in 3 tries, the last 3 tries that they've played each other. So they gave them all they could handle. There were some magical moments that they had in that run. I mean, look at, you take game 1 on the road, and then you come in, you go up 3-0 in your barn. You're about to go down 3-1, or potentially going down 3-1, excuse me. And you're down in control of that game up to the 3rd period. Lightning come all the way back. And I think was it Pulock that came across and made that save?
Yeah.
I fell to the ground. I was like, oh my God, like that was one of the best plays I've seen by a defenseman. I mean, in the last dying seconds. I mean, if he's a half second late, that puck's in the net, and just crazy play there. And you think, wow, like this team's got the answers. They know how to beat this team now. Then the Lightning come out next game, win 8-0. And the Islanders respond again, and they come back in game 6, won the last game, the Coliseum in overtime. And then just a great textbook game 7 the other night, 1-0. It was who was going to score that first goal. And the Lightning just kept going forward the whole 60 minutes. I mean, there was a couple stints there where Barzal had opportunities, and Beauvillier, he tipped it, hit the crossbar. But other than about 5 minutes that game, I think the Lightning really dominated. But the Islanders are close. I think everyone forgets about Anders Lee. If they have him, it's who knows. It could be completely different. Not saying that's the case, but that's a weapon that they lost and they didn't have to their advantage. And it's unfortunate for that side. But as a Lightning fan, it's it is what it is. You're given the hand you're dealt. Because look at the Lightning, year after year, no Bishop, no Stamkos. So it's part of the game. And ultimately Lightning got the last laugh, and now they're on to the Montreal Canadiens, who I really think people don't look over them, because they have proven series after series that they can just go and they can play with anyone toe to toe. And I was with you, Jacob, on that one with Vegas kind of handling them. I thought after watching game 1, wow, this team really got handed to them. And I don't know how they're going to find the offensive power to keep up, but they made the adjustment. We're not going to score 10 goals a game, and we're going to win the 2-1 games. We're going to find a way to grind it. And they did. They found a way and got it done in 6. And I don't think anybody saw that coming in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that Vegas-Montreal series, Montreal won 4 of 5 against Vegas. Vegas won that first game, and then Montreal won 4 of 5. So there's no reason to take these guys lightly. I mean, anytime Vegas had the most points in the league. They just lost. They didn't win President's Trophy based on a tiebreaker. So Vegas is arguably the best team in the league, points-wise. So Montreal just won 4 of 5 from the President's, the runner-up to the President's Trophy. That's saying something to me, and that's not something to take lightly. But yeah, Steve, I think going back to the Islanders series, I think you're right on the money in saying, without Anders Lee, it's a big blow to the Islanders. You look at game 5, they get shut out 8-0. Look, Lightning score 8 goals, whatever. He's not going to make a difference in an 8-0 game, right? In game 7 and 1-0, and you're looking for a guy to score a goal, you look to your captain for that inspiration, right? So I think not having him on the bench, on the ice, I think that's a big blow to the Islanders. And like you said, we can go back and forth and say, oh, he could have done this, or who knows this, here he goes. It's playoffs time. Everyone's dealing with their own thing. His, unfortunately, is a little worse than other guys, than whatever Kucherov was dealing with, whatever Padjo was dealing with, whatever guys are going through right now. His was worse than others. So Lightning found a way to kind of battle through their injuries and the hand they were dealt. And kudos to the Islanders for not backing down from the champs. They said, hey, they got the best of us last year. You see the improvement with them. They push them to 7 without their best guy. I think the Islanders are a big threat next year if they can bring back some of the guys, bring back some of the pieces. They're a good team nonetheless. Looking forward though to Cup Finals. Like I said, you can't take Montreal lightly. They're a good team. That whether that's a hot team or a good, well-balanced team, doesn't matter. It's playoff hockey. They're here for a reason. Lightning are there for a reason. I'm excited to get it on. It's going to be a low-scoring series though. I don't think you're getting 8-0 wins against Montreal. I think this is going to be another 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 type of a series. I think we're going to see a lot of overtime. I think this is going to be a defensive battle with a lot of overtimes and Vazzy and Price standing on their head. And it's going to be a fun series nonetheless. These teams played each other in the Atlantic last year, so there's already kind of a familiarity. They played in a series in 14 and 15, so there's familiarity there. I think there's going to be a hatred right from puck drop. It's going to be, with the history these teams have with each other, they've still got core pieces from the last time they met in the playoffs. I'm excited for the series. I really am.
Yeah. Before, Jacob, you mentioned Vegas. I don't know if you want to take away with them. I want to go back and talk about them a little bit because that's kind of a big storyline. I mean, they've been in the conference final 3 out of the last 4 years. So I don't know if you want to take it away and kind of segue into that.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with Vegas, you look at them and this is multiple years in a row and multiple different playoff series that they just haven't been able to score. So you got to look at that and say, what is that coming from? Listen, this has been 2 different head coaches that have had the same issue. Gerard Gallant, now Pete DeBoer, they've both coached teams that have completely flopped in the playoffs. So this is not, I don't think, a coaching problem. I think this is a personnel problem. And, listen, outside of Mark Stone, Pacioretty, everyone else kind of mediocre. Will Carlson is not what he was when they went to the Cup that year. Marchessault is not that guy. Who else do you have? Their number 1 center in this series was Colin Stevenson. Are you kidding me? That's not a real number 1 center. You got to get, and I saw since Vegas is out, they've been heavily rumored for Eichel. And I feel like at this point, they might be the best fit for Eichel because Vegas needs it. At this point, it's a lot like, and I hate to make the analogies all the time to my teams, but it's kind of like the Yankees. You can't run it back. If it fails, you can't do the same thing over and over again. So because you look at Vegas's roster and that defense is deep. You've got guys that have been in the league for a long time. Cup winners, Pietrangelo, Alec Martinez, those guys have won Stanley Cups. You still have Fleury, who's won Cups. This roster is experienced, Pacioretty's experience, and they still have young wingers that are talented. But what they really need is center depth badly. Give up personnel to go get Eichel. Why not? Trade Colin Stevenson, trade, maybe a high-level prospect like a Cody Glass or whatever, trade a defenseman with it. You got to do something because if this group every single year goes into the playoffs and just stops scoring, you can't do that. And it's especially after they were matching Colorado. So this also proves to me Colorado is not as good as what everyone hyped them up to be. Because if Vegas was able to score on Colorado at a high rate and then they go into Montreal and they can't do anything, that tells you something about Colorado and the way they're structured. So it's interesting to me with Vegas, but to me, if I'm them, go big and go get Eichel.
Yeah, I think after watching this team, this series, it was weird because, you look at their runs and they have such success until the last couple of rounds. Look, you got beaten 5 to Washington to lose the Cup. Last couple of times they went to the conference final, all of a sudden you seem like you're running through opponents, and then all of a sudden you get to the conference final, and then just things start going blank. And don't get me wrong, this series I'm going to tip my cap to Montreal because they played the hell of a series. They did everything they could to get to that next round. They're rightfully deserve to be where they are right now. But you win game 1 4-1, you lose 3-2, 3-2 in overtime, you won 2-1, and you lost the last game 3-2 in overtime. So Vegas was that close to really kind of flipping it on Montreal. It could have gone 6 the other way. And now I think everyone forgets the Marc-Andre Fleury, the fumble fuck behind the net. and
bad.
you're up 2-1 in that game. You're that doesn't happen. That game's over, and you're going into, you might get out of Montreal with 2 wins. So we'll never know. That's part of the game, but I can't place a finger on what's wrong with this Vegas team. I really don't. I think because they have enough scoring. I think they can score when they want to. Mark Stone didn't show up this last series. He was held, I think, scoreless all around. He was just not a factor. And when your best player, your captain's not a threat, you lean on that kind of guy to give you a boost, and he never did. He never went and got and fought somebody, and he never went and kind of go, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get in their face, and we're going to go. And I think for Vegas, if you're going to ask me, I think it's get a little tougher, get a little bit more depth, that third and fourth line. I mean, yeah, Ryan Reeves, I think that story's kind of gotten old. I mean, did you see him go out and fight one guy this last round? No. I mean, Montreal was kind of walking out there like, hey, look at what happened in Montreal side. Gallagher was in their face. You had young guys, Kakaniemi in guys' faces. These are young guys. I mean, Gallagher's been around a while, but you had guys going out there and just going, hey, we're not afraid of anybody. And that's what ultimately won in this series. They played with no fear, and Vegas kind of played with a little bit of wow. Like after game 2 at home and getting kind of pushed around, they were like, well, maybe we kind of underestimated these guys after, kind of shell shocking them in game 1. But I'm with you, Jacob. I think they got to go out and get somebody because the window's closing. It's kind of weird to say that because it's their first 5 years in the league, but you've been to the conference final 3 out of 4 years, and eventually that runs out. I just can't wait until this team's bad and see what the stadium looks like. Because when they start losing games, watch how many people show up to that arena, and they better win one soon, or that window's going to close, because you don't get to keep all these guys for that long. Fleury's window is shutting. Leonard, good goaltender, but I think both those guys are getting to the end of their road. So they've got some decisions to make. And
Pietrangelo and Alec Martinez, they're getting into their 30s.
Exactly. And you need to start getting younger guys. Look at what Montreal is doing. They've built the foundation, and now those guys are going to get older and older, get some veterans around them like they have right now. And look where that gets you. So Vegas has got to really figure it out, or the window's going to close hard, and it's going to be a tough way to recover. I mean, look at Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, I read something the other day that Vegas's GM is Kelly McCrimmon is like 77. He's not going to wait around for a cup. You talk about a guy reaching the end of his line. I don't know how many GMs in the league are, creeping up on 80 outside of Jim Rutherford. He's a fucking idiot. But yeah, Vegas needs to do something. You look at where they've been. First season Cup Finals, second season 5 minutes away from moving on. Conference Finals. I don't know what it is about this team. They're getting good goaltending from Fleury and Leonard. They've got the offense up front. Yeah, it dried up a little bit, but I mean, it doesn't mean you should trade all your assets for a Jack Eichel. I don't even know if Vegas has the assets to make that move, because I know Buffalo wants prospects. I don't know how deep Vegas's prospect pool is. And, on the back end, Jacob, you nailed it on the head. They got guys like Martinez, Pietrangelo, Theodore, all these guys with experience who can put the puck in the back of the net clearly. Because, I mean, they had more goals than Vegas's offense in that series. So I don't know where the hole is in this team. I don't know if you shake up the locker room. I don't know if you trade a guy like Fleury. Is it bad for the team that they've got 2 starters and switch back and forth like that? Do you ship out Fleury? Thank you. I think it is too. You don't want to trade a guy like Fleury. He's such a good locker room guy, but at the end of the day, I think it's a distraction if you, in the middle of you come out of a 7-game series and then you switch goaltenders. I think that's a distraction in the locker room. So I think, if you're Vegas, see if Seattle wants Fleury. I would do that. If I'm Seattle, take a guy who's already been through an expansion draft, knows how to come into a new team and bond them together, bring in a locker room guy. If I'm Seattle, I'd jump all over that. Just looking at factors like that, I don't think you need to reshape the offense. I don't think you need to trade out a big contract. They're still under the salary cap. I think it's really just a locker room shakeup. And when you've got a 1A and a 1B, you have the luxury of being able to trade one of those guys. And I think Fleury, as much as I like seeing him on Vegas, and I like him as a guy on the ice, I think he's the odd man out. So I think that's all Vegas needs to do. I think, Steve, you said it right too. Build your depth, make a move to the locker room, shake it up a little bit. You've already done it with a head coach. That didn't work. Trade one of the guys. And I think other than that, Vegas should not press the panic button yet.
Yeah, and you make a good point with the goalies. I kind of blanked on that one. That was one of my points kind of going to this podcast, looking at like, hey, look at the teams that make it to the end. How many goalies they use? One. Is there any doubt every night that who's in goal for the Lightning? No, it's Andre Vasilevskiy. And for Carey, do you think for the Canadians, and they had any doubt this last series that he was going to be the guy? Absolutely not.
I mean, the guys who are riding the bench are Jake Allen and Curtis McElhinney. Like, who? Yeah. What the fuck?
Exactly. So I think when you look at the teams that have been bounced, look at even the Panthers. Look, they went through 3 goalies that first round.
Carolina.
You look at Carolina, went through 2 goalies. Even the Islanders kind of went back and forth last year a little bit. Not so much this year. They kind of found their guy in Varlamov. And then you look at the other side in the West, I think it was a little bit better goaltending wise. I mean, even the Predators, look at them. They went with 2 goalies. So I think the key to success in the league is, hey, you go with one goalie and you go, hey, we're going to ride you out no matter what. Whatever happens, you're our guy, because that builds confidence. Yes, you can throw in a goalie and shake it up if need be. You need a spark.
Even Colorado, right? They balanced 2.
Yeah. Exactly. I was like drawing a blank there. They kind of switched up too a little bit. And it's one of those things where hockey is one of those things where it's confidence is just everything in the game. You're going 60 minutes as hard as you can. And if you don't have that confidence in the guy in between the net, you're not going to win a championship, because the Lightning and the Canadians both know going in the series that they have a guy back there that if we break down up front, that guy's going to have our back. If we make a turnover, we fuck up in the front. And that's why they're here. And I think that's it for Vegas. Is I think you got to go with one guy, either pick Leonard or Fleury, and that's your number one. And that's going to help the mental of that whole team, because they know that's their rock, and he's going to be the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. And I think that's the one place you could point a finger at, is like that they need a number one goalie, solid, no questions asked, because this whole series, is it going to be Leonard or is it going to be Fleury? And it's like, that's really not good for the team psyche. And I think it just really doesn't settle with me when teams make it to the playoffs and they're switching goalies, because 9 times out of 10, it really doesn't work.
No, I totally agree. And something else you guys hit it on the goalie part, but what I was I tweeted about it, and there was like I forget what account quoted me, but it was some like major account or like semi-major NHL related account. And they kind of like clowned my take, but they said like, oh, what a take, or something like that to what I said. And I was saying something along the lines of, do we notice that the teams that are physical and have structure and have grit have been making it farther than the teams that rely on skill? I mean, Colorado bounced, Toronto bounced, other team. I mean, what?
Vegas bounced.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas bounced. I mean, and look who kept advancing, the Islanders. And by the way, I never say this enough, and whatever, I don't want to hear any more Islanders slander. They are, period, end of story. They're built for the playoffs, and when they get to the playoffs, they win. And my thing is always a pattern. If you do it like 3 times, I'm not going to doubt you or question you anymore. They when they get there, they're a threat, period. And why? Because they're structured, they play defense, they're physical, they hit, they check. What does Montreal do? They do all of that. And you look at Montreal's roster, what did they get in the offseason? Toffoli, playoff vet, gritty, gets in your face. Josh Anderson, Corey Perry. What's his face? Jordan Stahl or Eric on the 4th line? Eric. Yeah. Eric. So Eric's on the 4th line. He's 6'4" on your 4th line. Vet, knows what to do. And then they made the trades for some of the defensemen too. I always forget their name. There's like Edmondson and Gustafsson. They're both big names, but
Edmondson, Gustafsson, and they got, and obviously Shea Weber. He's been around for a long time too.
And Petrie is great.
So to really kind of underestimate this team, you'd be silly, because this team has enough vets. I think they just kind of, they took it by storm. They got a chance to be in, and now they're running with it. So you make a great point there. It's the teams that have the grit, and they are willing to get into the dirty areas, and they'll take pucks to the face, bloody up, and just give everything to win the cup. And I mean, look at Corey Perry, slash in the face, comes out and and celebrates this team. He's back out with 20 stitches down his face. And again, it's just the guys that want to give it everything. And those are the teams that end up with the cup at the end of the day. They'll do whatever they want, sacrifice the body. And it's not the most flashy things that win you the cup. It's structure. It's a little bit of obviously skill, and it's determination. It's all those three things put together, and you're going to win. Hey, we're going to win that 1-0 game. We don't need to score 5. We're going to find a way to keep the puck out of our net. And that's what the championship teams do. So it'll be a fun one. And I'm already getting nervous, and it's only 4:00.
Yeah. I mean, I've been nervous all day. It's not fun. I was nervous all day going into Game 7. I've been nervous since the end of Game 7. That's the beauty of playoff hockey. But Jacob, I mean, you're talking about Islanders slander. A lot of people are saying, the Islanders are a boring style of hockey. Who wants to watch a 2-1, 1-0 game? Like, who the fuck doesn't want to watch a 2-1 game? I'm on the edge of my seat, because that means, if you're watching an 8-0 game, it's over, whatever. Yeah, there might be fights at the end. Yeah, there's goal scoring, whatever. But, that's kind of in the back of your mind at that point. You're like, all right, whatever, move on to the next one. If I'm watching a 1-0 hockey game, I'm on the edge of my seat, because the next shot could change everything. It's a 2-0, 1-1 game. So from that perspective, maybe that's just like the diehard in me talking, but I don't mind how the Islanders play. They're gritty, they're physical, they're fast, they can score when they want to, they keep pucks out of their net. There's nothing that's not entertaining about that to me. So I agree with you, Jacob. Any Islanders slander like that, I think is just kind of outdated at this point. And that it's consistency, and that they do it well, they do it to a T, and that if it works for them, why fuck it up?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, people don't want to credit the Islanders. I mean, not a lot of people like that franchise. That's really what it comes from. So it's just, you got to look at it honestly and say, you know what, they did a good job. But I think also, by the way, I think Tampa advancing, I think it shows also, teams like the Florida Panthers, and, CJ's been on before, they're going to advance in years forward, because they are big and they're physical already. And they're trying to they're building on that. Like, teams that are going in that direction. And we talked about it. Pittsburgh, Washington, where are they going? They're older. What are they doing? Boston, what are they doing? Edmonton, too, is one of those skill teams that got knocked out. They had no physicality, nothing. It was all finesse and skill, and we're going to beat you 6-5, and we're okay with that. That doesn't work anymore. So I think teams that are going the heavy, physical, big, we're going to hit you in the mouth types of teams, those are the teams that are going to go forward. And I guess it's a good segue real quick, because we got a little timer on this, but Gerard Gallant, hired by the New York Rangers. Supposedly that's why he's being hired. They want a guy that's going to enforce that style of play, that, hard-nosed, gritty type of play. Here's what my main argument is about Gerard Gallant. I don't understand, and I'm doing Strictly Rangers tonight with my dad and George Lake, so tune into that if you're a Ranger fan. But I don't like how Gallant has this sort of air around him, like he's the best thing that's ever happened. The dude got an expansion team that he really didn't have anything to do with creating, right? That was all George McPhee. He's the one that actually did the fantasy draft. Gallant was a pep talk guy for a year and got a team and said, hey, you're better than just a bunch of guys put into a room together. We can be a team. And it worked for a year. And then what happens? Next year, he makes a clown of himself to DeBoer, loses to them in the playoffs, and then gets fired after a 5-game losing streak the next year. This is the guy that's supposed to come over to an original 6 team as if he's some sort of amazing guy. He was criticized in Vegas because of a lack of structure. Of course, there's a lack of structure in Vegas. He got a group of hodgepodge guys and said, go out and fucking play, right? And then he got fired for it a year later. So I don't understand how he's supposed to come in and be some great coach for the superstars like Panarin and Zibanejad. What superstar was he great for in Vegas? I mean, seriously, like, was Will Carlson a superstar that year? Like, come on, like, get out of here. Gallant really has to prove it, in my estimation, because to me, he's all talk and no action.
Yeah, it's going to be time will tell. I mean, that's really all it is. I think he's the right guy. I think he's the best thing you were going to get. I know Claude Julien was on the rumor with Meal, and I just don't think he was the guy. He's been getting hired, fired. I think his last gig was with Montreal, and I think he's a guy that's going to enforce that. We're going to play this style of hockey. We're going to play that gritty, hit everything that moves. Superstars, hey, you're not going to get away with a lot. If you're not playing hard, you're not going to play. You better play the right way. And this, we're going to play Ranger hockey. We're going to play hard for 60 minutes, go to the corners, block shots, and our will is going to pretty much be how we're going to win. It's not going to be purely skill, because I think that's what the Rangers have lacked. And that's what you can look as a positive here is like this Rangers team has been so skilled for so long. In the last 2 years, they've just missed out on the playoffs. And the reason why they've missed out is they don't have that grit. Once they add that element to the game, they have a head coach that preaches that night in and night out at practice, you'll be set for success. And I think, you're right. It's been a lot of talk, but once it gets out there and if you start seeing results, then you're gonna be like, hey, wow, this was really worth it. But it's going to take time for it to work out and for fans to see it. And that's really much all you can do is wait for the next season and let it play out on the ice. That's all you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, really would be cool if Dan Girardi was the assistant coach. I saw that was a rumor. I love you guys like Dan Girardi. I like Dan Girardi, so I think it'd be great. And then really quick before the timer runs up, quick thoughts on Dave Hackstall, first coach of the Seattle Kraken.
He's proven guy who can win the league. And there's not many coaches out there that probably are willing to take the job. I think it's an experiment. It's an expansion team. You'll see how it works, but you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I agree with Steve that I don't know how many people are looking for an expansion job. Dave Hackstall is one of the guys who obviously wanted it. He got it. He's going to be compared to Vegas. That's no easy task. We'll see how well he brings that locker room together. You said yourself, Gerard Gallant brought a bunch of guys together. Let's see if Hackstall can kind of do the same thing.
Exactly. So this was a great pod, guys. Good luck for game one tonight. I'm going to try and fit the outro out. Follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P, on Facebook and Instagram at Strictly Sports Productions. We're on YouTube at Strictly Sports Productions. Go into the playlist. All 5 podcasts are organized in the playlists. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify as well. For Steve Cash and Adam Kupferman, I am Jacob Brown, and I fit it in. We'll see you next week.
That's what she said.